All right, let's jump right in. We're going to tackle one of the most powerful and honestly, one of the most misunderstood phrases in the entire Bible. It sounds so final, right? Almost apocalyptic. But what if? What if its true meaning is something totally different? So here it is. This is the line straight out of the book of Revelation. When you just look at it on its own, it's wow. It's incredibly stark. Time no longer. I mean, that's a statement that just stops you in your tracks, doesn't it? And of course, your mind immediately jumps to the end of everything, right? You're thinking clocks literally stopping, stars just winking out of existence. But the real meaning, well, it's arguably way more immediate and honestly more profound. And to get why, we've got to look at the context. Okay, so here's the first big piece of the puzzle. To really get this, you have to understand that this isn't just some prophecy being announced out of the blue. No, it's actually part of a really powerful, solemn oath. And what we're seeing here is Jesus making a solemn oath to the Father. This isn't just a quiet promise. It's a declaration made right there in the presence of heaven. It's this powerful, unshakable commitment to see the mission through, to finish the job he was sent here to do.
You know, at the core of this oath, it really echoes his prayer back in the Garden of Gethsemane. And it's so important to remember, that moment wasn't about weakness, not at all. It was a moment of profound surrender. Yeah, but also of incredible, powerful resolve.
Okay, so if this whole thing is an oath about finishing a mission, then what in the world does time no longer actually mean? This right here is where our whole understanding of this phrase is about to take a really important turn. And this slide really lays it out. On one hand, you have the common misconception, right? The literal end of time as we know it. But on the other hand, the deeper theological meaning is something else entirely. It's not about time stopping. It's about waiting stopping. It's the end of a long, long delay. What this oath is actually declaring is the arrival of what the Bible calls the fullness of time. Think about that. It's the moment when this whole massive plan of redemption, something that was prophesied for centuries, finally comes to its grand fulfillment. And you know what? This isn't an isolated idea. We see this concept woven all throughout Scripture. This whole idea of a promised moment that finally arrives after a long period of waiting, or tarrying as it's sometimes called, it's a super consistent and powerful theme. The point is, the wait is over. So let's dig into that a bit more. This whole concept of fulfillment, it wasn't just about one single moment in time. It was the absolute focus of Jesus' entire life, his entire ministry. His purpose, from start to finish, was always about completing the work. I mean, think about it. Even when he was facing just unimaginable suffering, he affirms that this specific hour, this exact moment of completion, is the whole reason he came into the world in the first place. And then, in the very moment of his arrest, when everything was coming to a head, he does it again. He reaffirms his complete acceptance of the Father's will and the mission he was there to do. There's just zero hesitation. This quote, it's just a perfect summary of his entire life's motivation. He says his meat, his nourishment, his very reason for being was focused on one single thing, doing the will of the Father and finishing that work. And then we get to this. Right before his arrest, in his prayer, he just comes out and says it. It's done. The work is finished. The mission he swore that oath to complete. It's now fulfilled. And this is what sets the stage for understanding what time no longer is really all about. Now, this isn't just us coming up with a cool interpretation. It's actually deeply, deeply rooted in the original language of the text. The Greek words themselves are basically the key that unlocks the whole meaning. Okay, let's get a little nerdy for a second, because this is important. The Greek word that gets translated as time here is chronos. Now, chronos isn't time in some big, abstract, philosophical way. It's much more specific. It refers to a measured amount of time, a specific period, or, and this is the kicker, a delay. All right, and the second part of that, the phrase no longer, comes from the Greek adverb uketi. And all this word means is that some state or condition that existed before, well, it's over now. It's come to an end. Think of it as not anymore or no further. So when you put those two words together, chronos and uketi, just like they are in the verse, the most direct, the most accurate translation isn't that time will cease to exist. Not at all. It's that the delay will be no longer. The waiting is over. Period. Okay, let's pull all these threads together now. We've gone on a bit of a journey, haven't we? From this really mysterious sounding phrase all the way to a deep theological and linguistic truth. So what's the big takeaway from all this? So we started with what sounded like a straight up apocalyptic prediction, right? But then we saw it's actually a solemn oath, and that led us to its real meaning, not destruction, but the fulfillment of God's entire plan. And the proof was right there in the original Greek, which just flat out means the delay is over. It's saying God's plan is now rolling out with no more postponements. And that just transforms the whole idea, doesn't it? This isn't some prediction about a far-off future anymore. It's a declaration about a present reality, one that kicks off the moment Christ finished his work. And so that leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. If the delay is over, if we're not in a time of waiting anymore, then what does it actually mean to be living right now in what the Bible calls the fullness of time?